Hello everyone and welcome to ShaneChise Gaming. Today on episode 1 of the ShaneChise, we will introduce you to which team we're taking, what we think about the roster, what we may do with the roster in the future, and what kind of expectations we have headed into Season 1. So now the question becomes, who do we take in this ShaneChise? Do we take the cover player, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? What about Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants? Two opposite ends of the spectrum, but which end of the spectrum do we take? There are old teams like the Patriots, young teams like the Cleveland Browns, top teams like the Rams, bottom teams like the Dolphins. You could say that the possibilities are endless, but quite honestly, there's only 32 possibilities. So let's get into it. Let's see who we'll be taking as we enter into the ShaneChise on Madden 20. Alright, so let's get started. Gonna choose our team here, and obviously the Dallas Cowboys would be a great selection here, but we're not gonna go with them. We're gonna go with more of a rebuild, and they obviously don't fit that bill. In fact, after the transactions of today happened, which I took the time to update before I got started here, there's obviously only one team to take, and that is the New England Patriots. No, I'm just kidding. As intriguing as it would be to play on a team that has Antonio Brown and Tom Brady, not what we're wanting to do with this ShaneChise. We are going to take AB's old team, the Oakland Raiders, who are now just a shell of a team. Brown was really one of the only things that they had going for them, but I can't say that I am upset that he won't be on this franchise. The Raiders were my target all along. My plan is to move them to Las Vegas, just like they're planning to do in real life. So losing Brown is just one more obstacle that is going to put a damper on the way that I have to get this team turned around. So I am more than happy to see that go down, and the Raiders are going to be the team that we take for this franchise in Madden 20.
Start your season with recommended settings. If you wish to change roles
our starting point for this, we're going to start in the regular season. I actually started one in the preseason, and the Raiders are just so they have such a lack of talent that there's really no point in even going through the preseason. Their first stringers are basically second stringers, and their second stringers are third stringers, so we're really not going to waste our time going through any kind of preseason here. We're just going to go ahead and get started with the 53-man roster that they've selected. That's also going to cut Brandon Marshall off of our team, so that'll be another obstacle that we get to overcome. Our role, in order to do the relocation option, we have to take the owner. That's really the only place to do that, and that's definitely the main reason that I want to take the Raiders for this. I think that there seems to be a lot of good features that go along with being a head coach in this year's game, and a lot of the owner stuff doesn't really intrigue me anymore. It really hasn't been touched for the past 5 years, but I want to be able to relocate to Las Vegas, so we're going to be the owner for this. And we got some different options here to take as the owner. We could be a former player, a lifelong fan, and a financial mogul. Typically, whenever I start a franchise as the owner, I like to take the financial mogul because it gives me a little bit more dollars to work around with. But for realism's sake, we're going to take the lifelong fan approach on this. It's actually going to cut our funds by $100 million. You see that that's the difference here. But really, this is the one that fits me in real life the best, so I think that this is the one that we should be taking. And what the heck, I'll put my name on this franchise. I'll let everybody know who it is that's running the Raiders and taking them to Las Vegas. get this punched in here. That's not right. Alright. I'll accept that. And then go check out our league settings before we get started, because a couple of these are off. Instant starter, trade deadline, coach firing, salary cap, superstar abilities, relocation normal, injury normal. Quarter length, I definitely want to go to 15. I always play 15-minute quarters. It gives you the real feel. Accelerated clock at 20. Full control. We're going to turn these tutorial pop-ups off so you don't have to hear Chris Myers anymore. And fill roster I'm going to turn off, which I don't know why that's on if you're taking the full experience that they had outlined here, but hey, whatever. It's fixed for us. So we're good to go there. And we can start playing. Alright, so here we are, week 1, ready to play the Denver Broncos this week. We got our things to do here, but let's look through the team just to see where this team is at heading into this season. We'll go take a look at let's look at the salaries to give me an idea of what we're paying for everybody here. So we can see Rodney Hudson is the only guy on this team that's over a 90, and he is on the final year of his contract. He's only making $10 million this year, which is really not bad for a center of his caliber. We've got LaMarcus Joyner. He does have star development, so that's good for us. He's only a 5-year player, but he's still got 4 years left on his contract. And here's the intriguing thing for me when it comes to the Raiders. I mean, a lot intrigues me about the Raiders and the way that Gruden has been running this ship. But here's a first-round pick from this year, Jonathan Abram, also a free safety. So, I mean, what are we doing here? We do know that he only has normal development, so that kind of makes the decision easy to go with Joyner here. But Joyner's 6 years older, and then you've got Carl Joseph. So, I mean, there's really nowhere else to move these guys around unless you actually shift one down the corner. So why do we need 3 safeties? I don't know. Tyrell Williams going to become the #1 receiver for the Raiders. He doesn't have a bad contract, but I wouldn't say he has a good one either. Let's go position by position now. We're going to run 3 deep on the quarterbacks here, if you want to call it 3 deep, because I don't really think Nathan Peterman is as much of anything. But Derek Carr, he has a decent contract. He's probably a little bit overpaid in my mind, and we still have 4 years left on that contract. But as of right now, he's one of the only things that we have going for us. And playing with Carr a little bit earlier, before we started this franchise, I can say that he's not that bad of quarterback. I've definitely played with some lesser quarterbacks going in, so I'm not totally sold on having to get rid of him just yet, but it is something that we could put in the works. Halfback, we have Isaiah Crowell at the top of the depth chart, but he is out all season with an Achilles tear. So that leaves us with Jalen Richard and the first-round pick Josh Jacobs out of Alabama to be our running backs. And you see that Jacobs has 93 downs already under his belt, on the way to finding out what his development trait is. But hopefully it's pretty high up, because he is a scheme fit for us, which we'll look at the schemes here in a little bit. But I could definitely see him being the running back of the future here. But the intriguing thing is that we have Richard, who is star development. So where does he fit into all this? This is something that's definitely intriguing. What does his contract look like here? I guess I went the long way around, but he's on the last year of his contract, and he's only making 3.1. So, you know, maybe he becomes a trade piece later in the season, something that we could move to get a couple of picks. We'll look at the picks here in a little bit, but the draft capital not bad for the Raiders. Fullback is a little bit embarrassing. Wide receiver, So, like I said, we have Tyrell Williams, who's going to be the #1 guy for us. Ryan Grant going to be #2 now that AB's gone. So signing him doesn't look like such a bad idea. Looked like the Raiders were just picking up anybody that they could out of the free agent market in the offseason. JJ Nelson, he's intriguing to me because he has 96 speed. I really like the guy that can stretch the field, and unfortunately, that's not Williams or Grant's MO. And then I'm going to also look to get quite a few snaps for Hunter Renfrow. He'll actually probably end up being 3rd on the depth chart ahead of Nelson. We'll have to find ways to get Nelson into the fold whenever we're ready to stretch the field. And then we got Dwayne Harris, who's going to be our primary return man, probably on both kickoffs and punts now that AB is gone. Tight end is not very fortuitous at all. There's not much going on here, really. 69, 69, 68 is just awful. And then we get to the offensive line, which again, not much else going on here. Colton Miller, he's a second-year player out of UCLA. He is a big guy, but in past games that I played with the Raiders, he just did not handle the pass rush at all. Bradley Chubb ate him up, and we're going to get to test that again on our first game this season. So we'll see if he can step it up and start getting some development. And then as we go along the rest of this offensive line, we already talked about Hudson. He is really the only bright point. Trent Brown, coming off of a couple good years. Maybe it was only one good year with New England. But still, he got paid because of that year. And he's probably going to be the only guy moving forward that we actually look at keeping on this offensive line. And he's probably only going to stick around for this contract that he's got. By that time, I hope to build an all-new offensive line. But he's about the only thing that's actually going well for us here. But here's a nice bright spot. We have Clelin Ferrell, first-round pick, #4 overall. Definitely a questionable pick with #4 overall. But I still think that he could turn into something for us. His development is still hidden. But if you look at a couple of his ratings here, he's got 81 speed at defensive end, which is just incredible. 76 on his finesse moves, 81 strength to go with finesse moves, 86 acceleration. So he's definitely going to be a force. We just got to get him the reps and get him the achievements that we need. But he'll probably be the primary guy that I actually control when we play games. Other defensive end, not very fruitful. Benson Mayowa, he's been a backup with the Cowboys for several years now. He gets to start because he's actually in Oakland. Here's another somewhat bright spot for us going forward. We got Maurice Hurst. He's got star development. He's a second-year player out of Michigan, but the thing that I don't like, and I'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the scheme fit, is that he's more of a pass rusher, and I don't like that at the defensive tackle position. So he could very well end up being that other defensive end for us as we move forward and try to get this team to where it fits the scheme that I'll eventually run. Tahir Whitehead, not a bad linebacker. Vontez Burfict, same thing. And then Markel Lee, he's one of the other young guys that we have going for us. But again, he's only got normal development. He's probably not going to turn into much, but it'd be nice to get him the reps. This is where I was talking about. This was Brandon Marshall's spot, so he's going to get some reps. This is a really thin linebacking core, but it's at least somewhat solid. Not great, but cornerback, more of the same. No cornerback ranked over 80. I do like seeing Daryl Worley on here. A little bit of a homer. He is from West Virginia, so we're probably going to try to get him that starting spot. Don't judge me. I like to see the West Virginia guys get the reps here, so I'm going to give Worley some, probably the CB2 slot there. And we already talked about Joyner and Abram, and then Carl Joseph, another West Virginia guy that we're going to obviously we're actually going to try to build around Joseph. He does have star development. He doesn't fit into the scheme. He fits into my scheme, but he doesn't fit into Gruden's scheme. So going forward, it may be something that we are able to capitalize on, because I'm going to look for something that has a safety and more of a run support capacity. But you know, Joseph, he's got good speed for a safety, good pursuit and good play recognition. I'd like his awareness to be a little bit higher, but he's 26th overall safety in the league, strong safety in the league. So that's obviously the bottom of the league if you just look at solely starters on all 32 teams. But he's somebody that we could develop. He's only 25, so we'll re-sign him and try to build around him going forward. And in fact, I don't see much that we actually can build upon here. It's going to be a long season as far as what we look at actual development. Alright, so with the depth chart looked at, nothing else really to see here. We'll take a look at my coach goals real quick, just to get a quick look at Gruden. You can see that Gruden is level 10. That's you know, I think that's fair for him. He has won a Super Bowl, but he doesn't have a lot of years of tenure like some of the other guys that you'll see as head coaches in this game. So it's probably going to work to his detriment. We'll probably look to upgrade our coach and definitely find somebody that runs more of the scheme that we're looking at. Speaking of schemes, if you look at Gruden's here, he runs the West Coast power run, which essentially is the West Coast offense, but what they do is they break it down by, you know, how you actually run the ball. So he's going to be more of a power running team. You can see he's going to have a power back with an all-power offensive line, which is something that I do like. I'd like to see probably more of a pass protector at the left tackle. But these are cookie cutter schemes. I can't go through and change every position, so I'll probably end up taking the all power line. You could flip through these here just to see where they're at. Zone run would get a pass protector but all agile. Zone run, multiple zone run gets all agile. I guess we could go multiple power run. That would fit the way that I like the quarterback. I like the power back. Like the blocking fullback. I'm okay with physical receivers. Probably need more of a vertical tight end, but I like the pass protector and the all-power offensive line. So that may be something that we explore as we look at head coaches going forward. Vertical power run, pass protectors on both sides. That doesn't make much sense to me. Spread with the agile guys again. Run and shoot all pass protectors. Air raid with almost all pass protectors. Pistol all agile. This is West Coast spread. Zone run. So we're going to leave it like we had it with, because this is Gruden's system. We're going to run Gruden's system because he's the head coach. I like to try to keep that as authentic as possible and just adjust my head coach to fit what I think the scheme is. Because I definitely don't agree with the 4-3 under scheme that he's got going here. None of this makes any sense to me. I don't know why you would have speed rusher on the left end. That's where the biggest offensive lineman typically is, so you're going to want somebody big over there. And then why you would have a run stopper on the right end, because most runs go to the right side, because that's where to the right side of the offensive line, because that's where the biggest offensive lineman is. So I would flip those if it was me. I would actually probably have more of a power rusher on the left end instead of a run stopper, and put my run stoppers at defensive tackle, which are speed rushers in this scheme. So outside linebacker. Why you have a power rusher in a 4-3 system, I don't know. I don't really rush the quarterback with the linebackers in a 4-3. I do like the field general and the run stopper with the other two linebacker positions, but then I don't understand why you have all slot cornerbacks. But again, it's something that we'll work with this season and then see where we're at the end of the season. The offensive playbooks, there's not a lot to see there, is why I kind of skipped over that. But then looking at the defensive playbook, you see Gruden does have a 4-3 and a 4-4 and a big nickel. The big nickel really comes in handy. A lot of times the computer will run a lot of single back formations where you end up with 3 receivers, and so on your rundowns it's nice to have that big nickel where everybody ends up a lot closer to the offensive line, or to the line of scrimmage, I'm sorry, and can kind of help play against the run there. So those are the schemes. I'll adjust my auto subs later. My owner though, there's really not a lot to see here. The Raiders are just so bad. Team value, you can see in the top we're 29th in value, but this will break it down. 29th in fan happiness, 29th in success, 19th in popularity, staff is 15th, stadium is 32, concessions, just bad all the way around here. Marketing, this will be even more interesting now that AB's not here. Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, and Vontaze Burfict. That's pretty terrible when Vontaze Burfict is a popular player for you. He's very unpopular across the entire league, so that's just where this team is right now, I guess. So let's go to stadium, because when you go into the stadium, this is where we can choose our option to relocate. Are you sure you want to begin the team relocating process? Absolutely. So this typically starts on most Maddens around week 4. So hopefully we can get into that rather quickly to see where we're going to end up. But again, the goal is to go to Las Vegas. I think that pretty much every city still comes up as an idea of where you could relocate, especially in year 1. I don't think that there's any slots that will be taken by anybody else relocating. So a couple weeks we'll get that figured out. And I could go down here and look at the staff. I'm pretty sure that our scout and our trainer are both pretty bad, so these will definitely be moved. Holy crap. John Gruden is signed through 2027. We're going to have to figure a way out of that. I don't know how much it would cost to get out of that, or if it even does. We'll give him this year and then we'll figure it out. I don't want to keep running this scheme, and when the Raiders end up at 4-12 at the end of the year, that'll be reason enough to do what we got to do to get rid of John Gruden. So alright, real quick, just to wrap it up here, I'll go through and show you what the plan is for the weekly training. This isn't something that I'm going to focus on because, again, I don't expect the Raiders to do much of anything as far as winning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on Josh Jacobs and Clelin Ferrell, 2 of our first-round picks from this year. Try to get them to develop into something. And rather than going with Hunter Renfrow, I'm going to go with Carl Joseph. Again, he's only 25. He's only 3 years older than Clelin Ferrell. But we already know that he has star potential. So if we could get some production out of him, I think this is really the only 3 things that we have to work with. You could possibly throw in Derek Carr, but so then we're also going to just sim through the game plan and just take the hit on the points, because there's no point in trying to you know, take our time to work these game plans. So I'm gonna go typically with these running drills, because that will help Jacobs get a couple extra points, and then it'll also help boost the offensive line. So even though we really only have maybe 2 tackles that we're going to have going forward, it'll at least help to boost their development as well. And then on the defensive game plan, I'm again going to try to get Farrell and Joseph double points. So the only place that you can get points from defensive line and defensive back is on your special teams, your kick block and your punt block. Kick block, you can kind of get your own boost there, but getting through on the punt block is a lot more difficult. So we're actually going to do the punt block. And then we're going to send this training all the way through all season. So if you guys don't see this going forward, you'll know why after you watch this intro episode. But you can see there, Jacobs and Miller getting extra points, and Farrell getting points just for being scheme fits. And then we're getting an extra 300 XP for Jacobs, Farrell, and Joseph, because we're focusing on them. And then we'll get our players upgraded as we head into the regular season. Carl Joseph. I'm actually going to stick with the zone scheme here, just to try to get Joseph a couple more points. When they're a scheme fit, they get more development points as a bonus. So if we can up his zone, it won't help his overall, but hey, it helps his awareness. That's one of the things that he was lacking in. So, and that'll help his overall go up a lot quicker once he gets that awareness up. Nevin Lawson, he's already a slot corner. Going forward though, I'd like to see more man-to-man corners, but it says that slot will help his man coverage as well. So we'll go ahead and up his slot. He gets awareness and man coverage out of that one. Daryl Worley, same thing. Going to help his slot here. Again, it won't give him the overall, but you see that popped up that he's now a scheme fit for, so he'll get additional points developing going forward. Markel Lee, he's a run stopper. Going forward, I might actually be looking for somebody that's going to run a 3-4. So Markel Lee would turn into a run stopper in that instance. So let's keep him as a run stopper, and that'll actually up his overall as well. And lastly, we have Nicholas Morrow, outside linebacker. We're going to give him the run stopper as well. He gets several points there. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for our intro episode. Next episode that you see, we'll be heading into our week 1 game against the Denver Broncos. Going to wait and save that for a separate episode. Just wanted to introduce you guys to the franchise, the decision that we made on who we're going to be playing with moving forward, and how we see this team shaping up, and maybe a slight look into how we'll change it going forward. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure that you leave a comment, give us a like, and make sure that you subscribe so that you can come back, get the notification when we come back and do our week 1 episode where we take on the Denver Broncos.